Welcome to Denim-wrapped Nightmares, Tipsy Exchange podcast, where we explore the Supernatural series, episode by episode.
Over drinks, we'll discuss the lore, the gore, and what we adore about the Winchesters and their adventures.
I'm Berly, and I'm a new fan of the series.
I'm LA, and I'm here along for the ride. Now let's get tipsy.
Hello, LA.
Hey, Berly.
For our listeners who are caught up on our episodes, you know we're in season 7, and so we clearly have Dick on the brain. Just couldn't help but think of our favorite Dick.
True. I've missed him. We haven't seen him in a while. What is it, 2 seasons?
Well, I mean, apart from conventions.
Right.
We haven't seen him since Hammer of the Gods in season 5.
It's been too long.
I know. It has been. So today we have a little treat. We've decided to bless our listeners with some Dick.
Nice.
Why don't you tell our listeners about our favorite Dick?
Well, Mr. Richard Speight Jr. is an American actor and director who is known for a variety of roles, including CBS TV series Jericho, The Agency, and the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. Speight played a reoccurring role, the Archangel Gabriel, originally thought to be a trickster or Loki in the WB CW series Supernatural. More recently, he played Dugan in the 2021 film Old Henry.
Well, that's a wonderful background in TV and film, but today we're talking about his music background, which a lot of people are not fully aware of because LA is in Colorado. Here's my interview with Richard Speight Jr. Unless someone has been to a few conventions or decided to read your extensive Wikipedia page, they may not realize that you have a background in music. How did you get started?
My background in music is long and storied, but kind of that sort of classic American guy wants to be in a band. So American guy learned how to play guitar and starts a band. I mean, I started playing in bands as soon as I picked up a guitar. I actually picked up a bass because my buddy Ben, when he was 13, started playing guitar and was really good. So I decided I should learn bass, and we started a band the next year. So we were really committed to playing. You know, I hear stories of people who start bands and it's like, you know, getting their songs out and writing songs and telling their stories, working on the art of songwriting. That was not us. We just wanted to be invited to the parties. So we figured if we're in the band, they have to invite us. First band was called Perfect Gentlemen. The next band was called the Distortion Hawgs. And I was in the Distortion Hawgs for many, many years through high school, and then was in a band for a hot minute called Inspector 12. And these were all guys who were in my high school or around my high school. And we had just a ton of fun. We'd play the high school parties and play the girls' school dance and play the 8th grade dance somewhere else downtown. And it was just so fun. To me, I looked at music like people look at playing pickup basketball with their buddies. It was never a career choice. I never planned on packing everything in a van and going town to town on a tour. I didn't even really think about writing songs or wanting to be with people who wrote songs. I just loved playing, and I just loved the energy of playing and inspiring people to have fun. In some of those bands, I was bass player, and that was it. In Distortion Hawgs, after Tim Wallace graduated, I promoted to lead singer, so I sang for a band or two, sang backup for a band or two, played bass in a band, played guitar in another band, and just kind of dug it and went to college and immediately met a guy named Chuck Fakis, who was a smoking guitar player, and he was in the same kind of music I was into, which is sort of that blues-based rock. So we were a good fit. Sam Klein, dear friend of mine, we met in college, and he was actually a songwriter. That was new. Never met one of those. So that was cool because he was writing all these tunes, some of which still make the circuit. So Chuck Fakis and Steve Cavett and Sam Klein and I started a band called Strange Neighbors at USC. And that was our band for the entire run of college. Now we're playing college bars, and it's different because people are drinking, and it's a whole different vibe. We were playing a mixed bag of like covers, but then originals, and playing and then making demo tapes and things that we hadn't been doing. I mean, we made a demo tape in high school. It was cover songs like Mrs. Robinson and Day Tripper and that kind of thing. With Strange Neighbors, Sam Klein was a good songwriter, and Chuck Fakis was a good songwriter. So they would write these tunes. I ended up writing a song myself. Kind of inspired me to try to, you know, dabble. Being around other creative people inspires creativity, I think. And so it was cool because Sam had a gorgeous voice, and it's when I first saw songwriting as a skill that up close and personal, because he wasn't a great guitar player, but with 3 chords he could write a great song. Like, he didn't need a lot of bricks to build a house because he had a sensibility of phraseology and lyrics and storytelling, and knew how to make the chords a line to be different and interesting each time. And a couple of those songs still make the rounds. Me When I'm Drunk, which is an old Sam Klein composition. And then when I go to France, I play a song that Chuck Fakis wrote in French for a French project called Quand je suis, which means when I am. It's a goofy little blues tune that we recorded for his French project that when I first went to France for a convention, I didn't know how to entertain the people of France. So I thought, well, I'll just dust this off. And it's become a staple of my appearances in France, where the audience knows the lyrics now.
I love that. Didn't you get signed?
Different band after Strange Neighbors. I stayed in LA and joined another band, or started it with Sam and lovely Larry. And we started the band Fugitive Pope, and that got signed. We got signed to a small label. Still, I mean, if one of these bands had popped, would I be thrilled? And would that have been cool? It would have been awesome. But I wasn't playing. I see what professional musicians do, and I wasn't doing that. I wasn't playing in multiple bands. Mm-hmm. We weren't getting in the van and driving to bars all over California and trying to drum up an audience. We were just doing it for the love of the game. I think Sam and Larry were more serious than I was, but nonetheless. So yeah, I basically played in bands my entire life. Fugitive Pope was all originals. We got one song put in an indie movie that was cool many years ago.
Which song and which movie?
It was called, I don't remember the name of the movie. I know the movie had Hilary Swank in it. That I remember. Oh. And the song was called Skeleton, off the one Fugitive Pope album called Dumb and Uncomfortable. Very angsty 90s title for an album. Once Sam moved to Norway, because he married a Norwegian lady, his high school sweetheart, at that point I wasn't hunting around for other bands, because there were a lot of bass players who were better than I was, and I didn't feel like doing heroin, and I didn't feel like being in a, the rock club scene of LA was not my jam, and I don't know, this is like, I didn't find my people, so I didn't pursue it. So I didn't play in bands for a while, but ended up meeting these old sound guys on a show that I was on, and started a cover band with them. I was playing in Venice Beach and doing that kind of thing, again, just for fun. And then kind of stopped that when we started having kids, because it was just to be out till 2 a.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah. As
we were talking about before we started, mornings start early when you're a parent. So it didn't matter that I was out till 2 a.m. I was going to be up at the crack with a baby. So I got to give that up. So that all went away and did not resurface until flash forward to Supernatural conventions.
Okay.
Conventions existed for a while. Then I got Loud and Swain hired on to be the house band I was hosting. Wasn't trying to step on their turf. Their thing was their thing. I don't think I've even mentioned that I played, to those dudes. It wasn't even a conversation of like, you're in a band? I was in a band. I mean, we had a shared love of music. We all loved REM. We all loved some of the same things growing up. But they were a complete and polished act. And I just was letting them do their thing because they were such a value add to the convention circuit.
When I interviewed Billy, he actually told us about how you were integral to getting the band involved in the convention circuit.
Yeah.
So good call on that, sir.
Yeah, man, one of the smarter moves I made. And it took a little convincing people up top. They didn't get it. They didn't know what it would feel like or be like and what we could pull off. But I did. And so I stuck with it. Look, I did a lot of work, not to go down this rabbit hole, but a lot of work in reformatting what conventions look like with Matt Cohen. And then when I was able to add the band, that was sort of the final piece of the puzzle to really reconfigure what conventions look like. Mm-hmm. To the point now when people show up, they just assume this has always been the model. And it so desperately was not the model. Now they do the same thing for Vampire Diaries. Now they do the same thing for other conventions where they have a band. Myself, and then with Matt, and with Rob and Billy and Steven and Mike, the vibe is very similar to what we created. And I'm proud of that because I think it's more fun for people who are spending their money.
So when did you start playing again?
They would be playing Saturday Night Special, and then I don't exactly remember how it happened. At one point, Jason Manns had me play. He's like, "You should play something," and I was a nervous wreck, but I sat down on stage and played I think Paint It Black, which I remember because it was around the time where people were filming things and it would live forever on the internet. But previous to that, you would do something in a room and walk out of the room and never speak of it again or revisit it.
I remember the days.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I was a big old grown up before internet became a thing, and so I remember that clip being circulated and going, "Oh man, I'm glad I didn't muff the punt too hard on that." At some point, something happened and they needed a bass player because Mike was going to play piano, and I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can step in and do that." We did it again, and then we did Whipping Post, which is a bass-heavy song, and that I knew in high school, so I already knew that. there was just a couple of things where it became, oh, I'm a good fit as an extra guy for Loud and Swain. It freed Mike up to use his talents elsewhere, and I could fill in the gaps. And that was really fun because that kind of rekindled my fondness for being on stage as a part of a musical act. When I made the first Speight Jr. album, I thanked Loud and Swain for that, because had they not sort of been a part of the world and then been welcoming to new people, they could have been territorial, which some bands are, and they're not. And so it was really cool because they let me get up there and play bass. It reminded me, oh yeah, I actually enjoyed this. It didn't immediately translate into, I think I'll do my own thing. That was years of me doing things for them. And Jason Mann's going, while he was recording with Gil and Brianna and all these people, he's like, dude, there's a lane for what you do. And there's nobody in that lane. There's nobody, at least in our circle, there's no country guy. And by the way, all the bands I'm talking about, I never played country music in my life. I listened to it a little bit when I was a grown up. I didn't listen to it when I was young. I listened to it because my dad did, but I didn't choose to listen to it.
Right.
But I am from Nashville, and I am proud of being a Southerner and a Nashvilleian. I think I've leaned into my Southern identity more the older I've gotten, because it's functionally my DNA. It's my location DNA. It's my family's multi-generational Southern. When I moved to California, and I would hear people making fun of the South or whatever. It would be one of those things where I'm like, quick note here, I'm Southern. So, before you start talking about whatever you don't like about that 11 state region, I'm representing it. So go suck it, go bleep yourself. I just,
this is an explicit podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Well, I recognize the shortcomings of my own part of the world historically, but I also moved to Los Angeles and have been there a long time and recognize the shortcomings of that part of the world. There are shortcomings everywhere. There is no community is perfect, and no people is perfect. Recognizing your flaws and working to fix them is key. Not to go down that rabbit hole, but part of my Southern identity became, when I had kids, was playing some of those old tunes for them. That reaffirmed my fondness for the classics: George Jones, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, that kind of stuff. The Kingston Trio, not Southern and not from the South, but still my dad listened to them like crazy. So then when Jason was saying that, it took him a long time. He said it many, many, many times, Jason Mans. When Jason Mans finally said it enough, I started to listen, and eventually thought, you know what, this could work. My fear was always, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to make a joke. I wasn't trying to make a joke album, but I wanted it to be fun. That's a tightrope to walk. I knew how I was perceived at conventions. I recognized how my stage persona was perceived by people who came to conventions. They see what I want them to see. They see that version of myself and Rob goofing on stage, and that was the image I cultivated. We'd done Kings of Con, the series. We cultivated this brand, and I'm like, man, me doing a side project is going to be really tough to maintain that look and feel unless it's done correctly. I give Jason a lot of credit. He understood that, and he worked with me and was a really great partner on that first album, The Dance and How to Do It, to help me land the plane on a narrow runway, to do music that was good, legit good, with a great band. Like, he found Zach Ross. He already knew everybody else, but he brought in Zach Ross. Through Zach Ross, we found Molly Rogers. Through Zach Ross, we found Ben Peeler. We added all these guys into the mix to give it a legit sound, but a unique legit sound, and one that is fun and serious in its fun, if that makes sense. Going Straight's a great song. Emma Fitzpatrick had the bones of that song written when I met her. Then we finished it off together with Zach, and that song is a legit, really good song. It's also fun. Cover of Raspberry Beret, musically phenomenal song. Mm-hmm. Also a lot of fun. So I think Jason really helped shape the look and feel of what I was trying to do. And at that point, when he helped me with that, then it was easy to step on stage and be the Rich Speight I wanted to be, fronting a band. It's also, I didn't call the band Richard Speight Jr. I didn't call the band, I was like, if I do this, it's not going to be me in a silhouette with a candle. Richard Speight Jr. sings the country hits of the 90s was not on my bucket list. So I said, if I'm doing this, I'm doing what I loved. And what I loved was being in bands. It wasn't about being a front guy. It wasn't about being the star. I was the bass player, for gosh sakes, most of my life. I was in the shadows with the rhythm section, and I enjoyed that position. So if I was going to step out front and do things in my lane, the way I want them done, then I'm going to do it with a group of people that I feel are along for the ride. Now, granted, that group shifts sometimes. The band we recorded with, we've played a show or two in LA with them, but when we go to Nashville, it's somebody else. We fill in the gaps. Billy Moran and Emma Fitzpatrick are the constants. Mm-hmm. Those two I have to have there. Honestly, would love to have Zach Ross more because he helped cultivate and create the sound of that band dramatically. He's instrumental in making the Dick Jr. vibe what it is, because he's such a unique and dynamic guitar player. Very different than Billy. They work super well together. Their sounds mesh well, but he has his own thing that he does. And in album one, he was really the guy laying down the foundation of all those tunes musically. So I wish he were around more to play, but he's a very popular fella, along with Rob Humphreys and Cooper Appelt. They are busy people doing their thing. Nonetheless, we found some great people. We played a festival in Oregon with an amazing rhythm section and another guitar player who's a buddy of mine in Oregon, Matt Harshman. And then in Nashville, we have these dudes who play with us. They played with us last time, and they're just sick musicians. So they can replicate what we did in the album seamlessly. We look at the chord charts, we practice, and they're just a blowout band. And so they sound phenomenal, and we sound phenomenal. Another plus is because they are not the guys that recorded it, they bring a little bit of a different flavor to it. It's the same badass mud stomping music, but it's just got a little bit of different flavor because different guys bring in different stuff. It's like watching a play with a different lead, same script, same staging, same story, but you're going to have a little bit of different interpretation that makes it interesting to watch and listen to. That's a long answer to your question about music and me, but there you go.
An extensive background is provided there. Mm-hmm. So one thing you didn't answer, though, that I have a question about.
Yeah.
So you said you play guitar and bass.
Yeah.
But I was at a convention recently where you got behind the drum kit.
Yeah, but not well. I mean, like,
it was impressive to me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know what I can do on drums? Billy can sit down behind a drum set and actually play. He can actually hit a little bit. And if you were in a pinch, Billy could be a drummer for you. I couldn't, but I can do boom, 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 ta, boom, ta, boom, boom. I can do that. But thank you. I'm glad it was more impressive than depressive. That's good.
I mean, it was impressive to me because I had a friend try to teach me how to play drums once, and they gave up on me after like 30 minutes. I could not get my hands to move at two different tempos. It was impossible.
Yeah, it's definitely its own thing. It's definitely its own thing for sure.
Are there any other instruments that you can play?
No, I mean, when I was really young, I messed around with the saxophone.
I love that.
Well, my grandfather had been sort of a hobby pro saxophone player. He had a dance band called the Walter Speight Combo when I was, but I didn't even know that until I was grown up. And at one point I saw a photo of him with the bandstand and the sax, but I have no idea where that photo went after he passed away. I have no idea. I wish I had it.
That's still amazing though.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool because my dad was in he doesn't play an instrument, but he had a vocal group, if you will, the duo singing group when he was in college called the Not Brothers, because we're not brothers. And it was, I don't think they said that part. That was just why they called themselves the Not Brothers, because they're not brothers. It was him and this guy, Jackie Brown, my dad and Jackie Brown. And that I've heard because they recorded a demo that, again, when I was in my 20s, my dad found the old tapes. We had them transferred to cassette. And they're kind of a very Kingston Trio meets, Everly Brothers kind of vibe, two guys singing and one guy playing guitar. Anyway, that was kind of fun to discover. The music thing has sort of been and then it was actually been fun because JC, my wife, is a beautiful piano player, completely different style. Like she's classical, put on the sheet music and play beautifully and fill the house with, gorgeous Claire de Lune and classical music. It's awesome. You put sheet music in front of me and it's like, bah, bah, bah. I don't know what that is. And then, I'm just making stuff up, and I always played by ear. And then you take her music away and she's like, I don't know what to do. And, so we have these different skill sets that are kind of fun to mess with.
That's funny. I want to bring it back to Dick Jr. and the Volunteers.
Great.
You guys have a show coming up on Thursday, December 5th at Exit Inn in Nashville.
We do.
When was your first live performance with Dick Jr. and the Volunteers? And what have you learned since then?
First live performance. So we recorded the album, The Dance and How to Do It, and then played live the first time in November. It was right before COVID. It was right, like we recorded this album, released it, and then the world shut down 2 months later. Great timing. But we played the Roxy, and I had played in so many bands before, but never something that had my name on the marquee. Dick Jr. and the Volunteers was still, not Richard Speight Jr., but nonetheless, I'm the pointy end of the bayonet of that ensemble and the front guy. It was an amazing night. So much fun. And I learned something that I didn't really stick to, but have relearned it and now stick to it. And that is, I do not like fronting the band without also playing guitar in it.
Oh.
I feel really weird standing there and just singing. That's a very unnatural thing for me. Even if I'm just doing a basic rhythm, I'm not looking to showboat on the acts, because that's not my skill set. But it feels strange to not, some people say, when I go to this party, I'm just going to get a beer, even though I don't drink. So I have something in my hand as I walk around. I need something in my hand as I am on stage. I just feel more natural with a bass or a guitar or something. And so I remember not knowing what to do with myself during the solos or things, because I've never been that performer. I've always been a performer who had something in my hand. So it was a little strange. So I learned that, and I didn't necessarily apply it so well to every, subsequent gig. But at the Oregon Festival, we played the OK Fest. I had the guitar, so much more fun. I'm going to have it in Nashville. It just frees me up to lean in a little more, which I love.
You're making me think of Ricky Bobby, where Will Ferrell's like, I don't know what to do with my hands in that interview. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, yes, that's classic. It's true. They say with actors, like, that's one of the hardest things for young actors. They don't know what to do with their hands. As an actor, I got it down. As a musician with no guitar, standing there singing, I don't got it down.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of things that you've learned since the first time, the Dance and How to Do It, like you mentioned, is predominantly covers.
Right.
And then you have the Going Straight. The newer album, however, Fistfights and Hugouts, is the opposite of that. Only a select few covers and mostly original songs.
Right.
What inspired you to start writing your own music?
Lockdown. COVID lockdown.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time by myself in hotels when I was shooting Old Henry, when I was shooting Kung Fu. Old Henry was shot in Tennessee. Kung Fu was shot in Vancouver, Canada. I was just stuck in hotels a lot, and I started messing around with the guitar. And because of the fun I had discovered or rediscovered in music with Dick Jr. and the Volunteers, the first album and the first playing live experience, that had sort of released the hounds a little bit in terms of like my passion for it. Like, it had rekindled what I had loved about it when I was young, and added on to it this sort of country music, which I hadn't been playing my whole life, and my fondness for it. So when I would just have the guitar with me messing around in these hotel rooms, and things would start coming to me, and they made sense to me, either guitar lines or lyrics or some combination of the two. And so I had enough time without work and life intersecting that I could spend the time to just write. It's like I went off on a writing, exploratory shutaway of, experience to lock myself away and come back with something creative. Only I didn't do it to myself. The world did it to me. So there I was with the guitar, time in my hands, keeping cabin fever at bay by messing around with the guitar, and stumbled into some songs that I was really liking and liked enough to sort of record on my own computer with GarageBand, and showed to Billy and Jason, I wanted to do a second album, and I didn't want it to be another covers album. That it didn't make sense to do that again. I didn't know where the original music would come from. And then the original music arrived. It was awesome. It was a great experience, because I didn't set out to go, I need 8 songs for a record. I just ended up writing a bunch of songs and liking what I was writing, and felt connected to it and comfortable enough to share it. Writing music, writing a screenplay, writing a play, writing a book is one exercise. Handing that over to somebody else is a whole separate exercise.
Right.
Of vulnerability and everything else. So the fact that I got comfortable enough to do that was a statement in itself. And then Billy responded well to it. Jason responded well. And of course, their friends are going to be supportive, but they also responded in a way that made sense. We're like, look, we think some of these need adjustments. Your roadmap is rock solid. Let's lean in on this. Aside from me writing Going Straight, well, Billy and I had written one song previous. We wrote I Liked You More When I Knew You Less for the first album. So Billy had worked with me one time where he's like, oh, you lyrically, you get it, man. Like your humor is still there. Your storytelling is still there. he knew that much about me, and Jason did too. But this was, some of these songs are serious. Some of these songs are angrier or whatever. And so I was kind of leaving we're going to chuckle at this lane, and it still worked. And it still was true to what Dick Jr. and the Volunteers should be and what I want it to be and how I sing and how I present. But it was different. Consequently, I love the album because I'm really proud of the music. And I also really leaned in on having Emma Fitzpatrick as a secret weapon more, because I think she's one of the most talented people I've ever met. So I wrote specifically for her voice, Your Whiskey on My Lips, and was talking to her while I was writing it. I'm like, I'm going to write a song for us. And I'm sure everybody in Nashville said that to her, and she's like, cool. but I did, and she sang it, and it's one of my favorite songs on the record.
Bragging rights. You spoke earlier about your convention persona, and I believe you have over a decade of experience serving as host and MC at conventions. How does that influence your performance and engaging an audience at a Dick Jr. show?
I have been hosting a long time, and that's a pretty, natural space for me. Kind of Brer Rabbit in the Briar Patch. I make sense doing that. I did that in my high school. I was the president of my high school and get up and make announcements and make the student body laugh with the microphone. It's just a space I'm comfortable in, getting up and goofing around without a script. But you get better with practice, like anything else. Even if you're good at something, you get better the more you do it. The old Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours theory. And I've been hosting so long and doing this so long with Rob and without Rob, with Rob. And it's just honing that energy is good. I always feel like one of the things that keeps conventions interesting for me as a participant in them is that I get to be up on stage talking on the microphone and engaging with people and with the band. That's using the same part of my mind that performing does on stage or on a set. So I'm triggering the same mechanism. So when I'm not shooting something or directing something, I don't feel like I'm getting as stale as I would be if I weren't doing something creative. Writing a script, songwriting, playing music without the interaction with the audience, just playing music, that's not the same thing as using your brain and your spoken word to sort of engage a character, a crew, or an audience. I enjoy exercising that muscle. It's why I enjoy hosting. It's why we host the way we host, without any kind of plan, and kind of go without a net and do it the way we do it. Some people may prefer more polished, but I think we get away with doing no prep, and that's what keeps it lively. And I think that crosses over into a live performance if you're fronting the band, because that's what I'm doing between songs. That's what I'm doing as a part of the show itself. I talked about my onstage persona. It's not a completely fake persona. It's not like I'm actually, British and angry. It's still a strip of Rich Speight that I'm using on that stage. And that part of me is alive and well as a frontman of the band, because my music, again, I'm not morphing into something I'm dramatically different. My music is fun, upbeat, Southern. It incorporates a lot of elements I think someone could describe my personality as having, but it's music. And then there's some serious things, which is also part of my personality. And there's some, some darker stuff, or not super dark, but it drifts out of the light sometimes. The patter of the conversation that I'm having between songs is performative in itself, much like what I do on stage, to sort of keep that energy going. I like energy. I don't like dead space. I don't want to say I don't like silence, because silence is a powerful tool, but I don't like it as a constant. I don't like it as a through line. The same guy that's on stage warming you up for, to see CW stars is the same guy who's going to be on stage keeping you going between songs of the band. And then the band elevates it even higher, because they're a wall of powerful musical energy. It's very much an extension of my convention stage self, what I do on the shows. And that's an interesting question, by the way, because I know that sometimes you can go see Woody Allen play clarinet in a jazz club. You're not going to get funny Woody Allen.
Yeah. I was about to bring that up. It was something that stuck with me after seeing you guys for the first time at Exit In last year, was your ability to keep it consistently entertaining throughout. A lot of bands between songs will just say, this is the next song we're going to play, and play it, or something like that.
I know. And sometimes that's their thing. They're doing it honestly, and you can't fault them for it. It's just not who I am. I for better or for worse, I have the energy I have, you know. And I mean that, like, you know, I have a lot of teachers who would say it was for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure my sons at some point think it's for the worse because I drive them nuts in my own dad way. But I think in my life in general, in a world that can be challenging in itself, I tend to bend positive and to try to like live in that space of kind of enjoying whatever's happening in real time. It's a fine line because I always say like my on-stage persona, and it's not an act, it's not a persona,
Right?
but you know, you're letting people see what you want them to see. You're just doling out what you want people to know and what people to see, but it's still real, it's still honest, and it's still who I am, which is why it carries over from one stage to the other, because it's not a convention persona. I'm not a game show host here, and then I'm real me in the bar. Like it's still real me. In fact, I did that on purpose, where I wasn't creating a complete BS hosty, hey, thanks for coming guy for conventions. Rather than me go to convention and adapt to what a convention was, I just dragged the convention towards me so that I could take the energy that I wanted it to have and tap it into what I already felt comfortable doing. So that's why it translates onto the music stage.
Back to the show on December 5th.
Yes.
What is the lineup and what can we expect from each set?
It's a great lineup. I love the station breaks. The station breaks are, for those who don't know, it's an offshoot band. You know, everybody who is involved in the convention world for Supernatural has heard of Loud and Swain, and that's the staple band, house band that travels with us at the U.S. conventions. The station breaks is an offshoot of that, where it's Billy Moran, Rob Benedict, and Jason Manns, and they have an album and they have great music, and they're writing a new album. I think their stuff is great. When it first came out, I was a huge fan. I think Rob and Jason's voices together are phenomenally good. I told them as a compliment, also, I think, annoying them mildly, I'm like, kind of think I like your two voices together sometimes more than the individual components, which is it's a Simon and Garfunkel compliment, but every now and then Garfunkel could get annoyed. But they think they're great musicians individually too. So it's not saying you're better at this. I'm just saying it's such a powerful tool to have in your back pocket to be able to team up and do what you do. And then of course Billy's such a rock solid player and singer in his own right that he has a third voice, and the songwriting is super strong. It's just a great band. So Station Breaks is playing, and in that band you have three gentlemen who have solo work of their own that's really, really good. Rob Benedict, Jason Manns, Billy Moran. And so within the framework of that set, they're also playing solo music. Not solo music like everybody leaves, they drag out a stool and play acoustic guitar. Because when I was building this show, and we got the guys together, I said, we ain't doing an acoustic opening. I don't want to be the one band and everybody else is out there playing in a soft spotlight some morose music about what went wrong in their youth. I don't give a shit. That's not what this is. This is a different night. I want this to be fun, and I want it to be a band across the board. Play whatever music you want. You know, you got a sad song in there, great, but play it with the band. Like just make it all consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and everybody agreed. We're like, yeah, let's do that, man. It's close to the holidays. It'll be upbeat. It'll be fun. Great way to sort of kick off the last month of the year and just kind of kick off the convention. You know, the other thing is we've done concerts before, myself, other bands involved with the convention circuit, and they're on the Monday after a convention.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to a Supernatural convention, and then on Monday you go to the concert. You're just beaten up by Monday. Like you just as the guy who's been hosting all 3 days, or as the attendees who've been bouncing around from event to event, you're just shot. And we're like, well, let's turn that model on its ear and play on a Thursday night, which is when most people go see bands. So like, let's just follow a more normal model, kick off the weekend as opposed to put a cap on it. I think that's going to be really fun. And in the lineup, we have Tyler James playing some keyboard, who produced Rob's first album, Rob's solo album. He also produces a lot of Emma Fitzpatrick music. He's a really talented producer and musician. He's going to be playing some keyboard for Station Breaks. We have the same Dick Jr. lineup, who will be the band for Station Breaks too. Rob Calder on bass, Don Epcar on drums, Jules Belmont on guitar and pedal steel and everything else with strings on it. And then, of course, from the Dick Jr. side, you got the core component of Billy Moran and Emma Fitzpatrick. So they're the cornerstone of what I'm doing. And then this band, which we had last year, they're just phenomenal. So we're super stoked that they were all available to come back and do it again. The Nashville Volunteers, which that's our text chain with them, is the Nashville Volunteers. So the Nashville chapter of the Volunteers will be out in full force. and it's going to be dope. It's just exciting to gather that much talent in one place and play. And the Exit Inn is an awesome venue. I have bootlegs from the Exit Inn from when I was a teenager, and they've only improved that venue. It's gotten better and better. They kind of gutted it, which got rid of some historical elements that I missed. But the upside is they improved the sound system, they improved the lights, they kept the stage, they kept the layout and the look and the vibe, but just made some improvements. So it's a great place to see music. All weekend of the conventions and online, I'm promoting the shit out of the show because that's what I do. I'm playing a show and I want people to come see it. But I also, in my heart of hearts, I know it's a home run. I know the talent of Rob Benedict and Billy Moran and Jason Mans. I know how good the band is we have assembled. I know how much fun it was last time, and we've only gotten better. This is going to be a dope night and a great way to kick off, the weekend. So I feel like it's a no-brainer. It sells itself type of thing. But of course, not everybody knows the whole band's music, and not everybody knows Exit In. I'm still selling. I'm still out there pushing. I'm informing the public. I say
you're helping them make an educated decision. That's
Bingo.
The way I like
I'm
to look at it.
To the correct way.
Well, as somebody who's been to 2 Dick Jr. and the Volunteer shows now, I highly recommend the event as well. So I've also been telling people that they need to come. Now, I have seen some questions floating around from people. You mentioned the Exit In venue.
Yeah.
How convenient is it to get to Exit In from the convention hotel? Some people are concerned about that.
Not at all. Not at all. I know the creation. Just so you know, this is one of those things where, when they do the Chicago convention and we're in Rosemead, or like we're not in Chicago, there's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time ever, Creation has put the Nashville convention not in Nashville. It's in Murfreesboro. Now, I mean, you're 30 minutes outside of town. Nothing I can do about that. They decided to make it a Murfreesboro show. And I think they just couldn't get an event space in Nashville. And that's a bummer because it's previously been in downtown Nashville where it's all happening, and Nashville is such a great town. But I will tell this to your listeners who are going to the convention. I go to a lot of conventions, and I end up on the outskirts of towns a lot. And I've never been sorry that I went into Paris, or that I went into London, or that I went into Chicago, or that I went into New York. I've never thought to myself, I should have stayed in Whippany. So whatever half hour it takes you to get there, it's going to be a half hour you're glad you spent, because Nashville's a great town. Whether you've been there before or not, you're going to want to get into downtown Nashville. We're giving you an excuse, but you can find other reasons too. It's a great town.
Another concern that I've seen some people talking about is the potential of there being a conflict on the schedule. Is that something that you have any insight or information on?
We aligned this concert with the brass at Creation before we launched it, because we wanted to be sure that we weren't stepping on any toes. Unless there's some event on Thursday nights that's new that I don't know about, there is no official event on Thursday nights. That's why we were comfortable doing this. I would never do anything that conflicted with Kim and Brianna's events or, one of my buddies' events. We're not there to pull people away from the convention. We are there for the convention, but it's a kickoff for the convention, not a competition with the convention. It's like the exact opposite. We want this to sort of be the first night of what's going to be when you tack on the Thursday, it's going to be 4 days of phenomenal group experiences. So, we're kind of classified, even though there'll be non-convention people at the show, obviously a large component of our group at the Exit In will be convention people. We just think it's going to be a badass way to kick off a killer weekend. It's not competing with anything that Creation has set up. We specifically made a point to not do that.
Okay, great. All right. So for those of you thinking that you're not going to be able to get there, you should go anyways. It's essentially right around the corner from Centennial Park, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very near Vanderbilt University. In terms of Nashville, it's very central. It's very easy to get to in Nashville. It just happens to not be near the convention hotel. But Nashville, you're not traveling the backwoods. You'll be on a freeway, and it'll be you grab an Uber, and you get there. In this day and age, it ain't hard to get anywhere. You're not taking a tram. You won't be on a gondola. It's not hard to get there. You get an Uber, tell them to take you to Exit In, and that's where they'll drop you. And by the way, this, again, talking about, bang for your buck, the show is going to look and sound phenomenal. You can see some photographs from the last time. The lighting rig in that joint is awesome. Like, you're getting a lot of production value in that space. It's also makes it worth the trip. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I wish we got to do more Dick Jr. shows. I wish it was a thing where we were doing a tour across 5 cities and assembling a rock star band and being able to do this caliber of show multiple times in a row. But unfortunately, that doesn't work out logistically with everybody's lives. I have high expectations of what I want to put out there. Then everybody also has careers and lives that pull them in 20 different directions. So it's hard to get everything together right to deliver the kind of show that you want to deliver, that you would want to see if you were showing up to a venue. This is one of those times where we can pull it off. I don't say it lightly when I say, come see us. It's going to be awesome, because we don't do this a lot, because we can't, and it's going to be awesome. So it's worth the effort. This is just one of those rare opportunities to be in one of the coolest cities in America, at one of the coolest venues in the coolest cities of America, seeing local dudes do what they do. The entire band is, of the Nashville Volunteers are all, Nashville studio musicians living and working there in the professional music space, and they're just phenomenal. And then we show up with our flavoring to bring our own style to it, and it's just going to make for a great night. One of the coolest things, by the way, is the Hatch show print. We commissioned a Hatch show print concert poster for the event, which is just awesome. I just saw the final proof of it last night. And Hatch show print, for people who don't know, is a wood carving poster maker that you have seen. You do not necessarily know you have seen Hatch show print, but it's been around from the 1800s and has been doing Americana advertisements and concert posters forever. They did the Dick Jr. and the Volunteers album cover for the dance and how to do it. I commissioned them to do that. And they run these beautiful parchment presses of their posters. They still make the posters the original way they were made when Hatch show print opened in whatever year. And so we also have this cool piece of Americana art that goes with the show that is, it's a purchasable item, but it's not expensive. We didn't do it to send our kids to private school. We just wanted to do something that was cool, that represented the show and the vibe and the town. That's going to be a cool piece of frameable art. It's not some BS, photo of me and Matt looking like jerks. It's an actual cool thing. And so, we've just done everything we can do to make this thing as cool as humanly possible for us. And in so doing, it's going to be really cool for other people as well. Their work, if you have never heard of Hatch show print, go online and look up Hatch show print. You'll be blown away. And you'll also go, oh my God, I've seen that kind of work all over. Because it doesn't matter if you're from the South or not. The work is recognized globally and has, they do wine bottles. They're commissioned to do all kinds of things, and stuff looks awesome. I pulled up their site. I wanted to see if I knew when they started. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't remember from the tour last year.
I should know. It just celebrated its 140th birthday. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, you guys, 1879. It was founded. So there you go.
So yeah, it's a unique opportunity, a rare occurrence.
Yeah, you don't get Jason Manns playing solo music with a band ever. No one has ever heard Rob Benedict plays the Swain, but he doesn't play his solo stuff. So yeah, you're going to get Station Break stuff you know and love, or will know and love once you hear it. You're also getting Rob Benedict doing solo stuff with a full band, which he's never done. So that's cool and unique and awesome. And then Billy's only played his solo stuff with the band once, and that was in LA at the Whiskey, and it was unbelievable. And so now he's getting to do it again. So it's just going to be really, really cool. It's going to be a really unique, doesn't matter how many conventions you've gone to or how many concerts you've gone to after a convention, this ain't that. This is its own animal, and it's going to be super unique and interesting and fun, and in a great city, kicking off the end of the year, ramping up the holidays. It's just going to be a great experience.
If you can survive the trek from the airport to the convention hotel, then this should be nothing and well worth the journey.
Exactly. This is why God gave us Uber. And thanks for doing this. Thanks for talking about the show and everything.
No problem. I'm excited for it.
Me too.
And I think a lot of people are going to be upset they missed out if they don't take advantage of this.
I certainly hope so. I hope they're bummed if they don't show up. How dare they?
Yeah, so if you're going to the Nashville Con, why would you not go get some dick? It's right there. Get tickets at exitn.com, and we got permission to share the promo code from Kings of Con. That's Rob and Rich, ROBANDRICH. Type in that code before checkout, and you should get a discount. Again, that's exitn.com, promo code Rob and Rich.
Man, I really wish I was going to go. I'm going to miss seeing him and the show itself and just all the other artists. It's bummed I'm not going to be there.
I'm bummed you won't be there either, but I will be there with bells on.
Oh, I'm excited for you.
We will hopefully be doing our little line dance that we've been promoting to everybody for When the Devil Drives, whenever that song comes on. And I am so looking forward to getting to see Nashville again. I've still been dreaming about that barbecue that we had.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I don't even
It was so good. I will definitely be getting some barbecue while I'm in downtown Nashville for sure.
You got to take some videos at the show, too. And the venue's so small, but it makes for like a really great intimate show.
And the lighting, you don't normally get lighting like that in smaller venues.
Right.
It was beautiful. Just a phenomenal show. I hope I remember to go live.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me all about it when you get back. And I'm curious to see if they, like, with each set, if they play, like, one of them comes out and plays with the other or not. Like,
oh, during their solo performances, if they have a couple of little cameo things, yeah, that would be
right,
cool.
Right.
I imagine that they would.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think so. It's going to be fun. I know you have major FOMO, and I'm just excited. I'm so excited. Well,
I feel like can we just like video chat the whole time?
Well, like I said, I'll try to go live, but you know me.
Yeah.
I won't be able to stand there and film the whole thing or do the whole thing live. I'll get distracted by my favorite piece of eye candy. It's not frequent that I get to watch Richard Speight Jr. with my bare eyeballs rather than through a screen, you know. Right. Who knows how well the videography will be anyways.
I feel like we'll see a lot of the floor maybe.
I'll try. I'm going to try. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening today. We hope you enjoyed this surprise bonus episode, and I hope I'll see you in Nashville. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Denim-wrapped Nightmares.
Follow us on Twitter or Instagram, leave a review, and let us know how we can get involved in the fandom.
This was fun, jerk.
It always is, bitch.